Welcome back to the show. We got a great one lined up for you. We got some news, and we sat down with Austin King from OMNI, and you won't believe what's coming for the Internet of Value. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and digperspectives.com for exclusive content. $2.77 trillion market cap for crypto. The market's off 3.9%. 81,700 plus for Bitcoin right now, 1,800 plus for Ethereum. XRP number 4 spots $2.24. We're off 4.3 on the 24. We're up 6.1 on the 7-day. Range of price very quickly, ranging between 224 and 238. We're sitting on the bottom side of that range. We'll keep an eye on it. Let me show you this. Let's start right here. Join us at the world's largest XRP conference. Get your tickets before they're gone. You're going to see one of these gentlemen that will be on stage at XRP Las Vegas in an interview. I had a great conversation with Austin King. You won't believe it. I'm about to unpack it for you, but take a listen to this. Listen, make the investment into yourself. This isn't about just coming and meeting Brad Garlinghouse or whatever, which you would get a chance to do. This is about you coming and learning things that you're not going to learn everywhere else. And listen, I've got the right to brag about this, and it's not because I'm the founder of the conference. It's because as someone who attends the conference, I have learned something every year that I haven't learned anywhere else, and you will too. Take a listen.
We're getting closer to XRP Las Vegas 2025, May 30th and 31st. The markets are fluctuating, but there is a momentum for this industry never seen before, including the first White House Crypto Summit and multiple XRP ETF filings, as well as a statement from the OCC with positive news for the industry. You can experience real-time discussions with industry leaders and learn about this now rapidly moving industry at XRP Las Vegas 2025, the world's largest XRP conference at the MGM Grand May 30th and 31st, with an amazing speaker lineup with top industry leaders. It's been a long journey, but it feels like it's just the beginning. Celebrate with the XRP community May 30th and 31st at XRP Las Vegas 2025. Get your tickets now.
Absolutely lock in, ladies and gentlemen, and listen to this clip while you're locking in. Strategic crypto reserve is something every country needs. This is a gentleman from LCX Exchange.
Listen, I want to get your opinion on the XRP Ripple strategic reserve position. What are your chances that you think Ripple is going to succeed in getting XRP into the reserve?
I think it's historic times. We have the first crypto president in the United States, and he's also pushing global markets, as we can see now.
Right.
But this announcement and the presidential tweet where he mentioned this U.S. strategic crypto reserve is really a milestone. This had been like a dream come true for the industry, and obviously mentioning XRP as one of the assets is move the markets, a lot of speculation. At the end of the day, they decided to go with the pure Bitcoin strategic reserve at the first step, but we don't know what will happen now. In our opinion, a strategic crypto reserve is something every country needs.
Wow, that's quite a statement from LCX. And listen to what else he says here. Take a listen and watch closely.
What would be the future here for you guys if you were to choose now?
What I can tell you is it won't be on Ethereum because they need a different settlement layer, which is much faster and probably also offering a hybrid model between private and public disclosures. So if the Bank of America would step in, they don't want to disclose all their transactions like it is on Ethereum.
Well,
so it would be a hybrid model.
There's a blockchain out there. XRP Ledger would be a good one. You know, you could go right there to it. And oh, I like that. Okay, that's all.
He got the wink, baby. You got the wink in the house. You know what? Let's keep this energy going. This is Austin King. Ever heard of the Interledger Protocol? Well, his team scaled it to 10 billion transactions or payments plus payments. Look, hundreds, thousands, million, billion. Scaled it to 10 billion plus payments in 2019. And this was all made possible by one thing: intents. Well, we're about to get into Intents and OMNI and what Austin King means by all of that. And listen to this to get you started.
We're Strata. Today we're going to be talking about our role in the Interledger ecosystem, which mostly surrounds deploying production-grade Interledger infrastructure for other companies. And so what we're going to be covering are problems that companies face as they try to integrate Interledger, some case studies of companies that we've worked with in the past and still work with today, some of the numbers that we're seeing in the live network from that, and how you can get involved. After that, we're going to be leading a workshop on deploying Interledger connectors to the testnet or mainnet. For a bit of background, I'm Austin. I'm the CEO, and this is Dino, my co-founder, the CTO. We were roommates in college for 3 of the 4 years. And yeah, we're working on Strata today. Originally, we built a trading engine because our senior year, we got pretty interested in crypto. And we thought running a trading engine was a good way to get involved in the ecosystem. In the meantime of doing this, we were going around to a bunch of different conferences, and we happened to meet Evan at one of them. It was far too complex, and one of the things that drew us into Interledger initially was the simplicity of the protocol. So we met Evan at a conference at Stanford, but we were at school at Harvard at the time, and Evan actually lives right by there. So we started meeting with him pretty frequently, and we became convinced of the vision, and then ended up starting Strata.
And that vision continues today. Welcome back to the show, and as promised, he's sitting right here. It's Austin King from OMNI. Austin, how you doing, man?
Doing well, man. Thank you for having me on.
Man, thank you. This has been long overdue, Austin. I read your threads online, and I'm like, I got to talk to this guy. I mean, it's like, dude, you've been dropping like serious bombs, just like of ways to think about where we are, ways to understand the ledger, ways to think about like how we can move forward and how it could be exponential growth. I mean, where do we start with you? You got so much that we could tap into today. I think the best thing to do is to start with one of your most recent posts, which was on intents. And talk about that a little bit, what you have there and what you were talking about in that thread.
Yeah, happy to. So for people who didn't read that thread or are not familiar with intents, this idea, this is, it's actually been around since 2017, 2018, and it was pretty core to the Interledger network. And so the Interledger network was an earlier interoperability protocol. It actually came out of Ripple originally. My first company built out that network before I sold that company to Ripple. And at the core of it was this idea of intents. And so the idea really was people should not have to think about what transaction they're doing, or like if they want to go take out a loan on a blockchain, they shouldn't have to think about migrating funds one place, doing another transaction over here. They should just be able to say like, I want to take out a loan, and just operate at like a pretty simple level. That's really the core idea behind intents. Really, in the implication there is that everybody on chain today is operating in a very like technically in the weeds. It's almost like when you're accessing a different website, if you had to go downstairs, unplug your router, go plug it some cords into a different router, like it's just very like annoying and complex in order to do things on chain today. And so intents are a way so that people can just be like, look, I just want to trade this asset to another asset. I don't care where that's happening. Just like, go get me that asset. That's kind of what we see in traditional finance for how a lot of people interact with the stock market today. So like Robinhood actually does this, for example. Users kind of just like when they open the app, they click a button and say, I want to buy $100 of Apple stock. They don't think about, is that going to the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ? Like they don't think about what order type is being placed because they don't need to. What Robinhood actually does is they take that user request, that intent, and they hand it over to a market maker who goes and handles all the complex stuff and then just gets them that $100 of Apple stock. So it's that same idea of just like offloading complexity to sophisticated market participants who go handle all that complex stuff for the users so they can just be like, get me $100 of Apple stock.
And what you're talking about sounds like a combination of like AI and blockchain. Like you just speak to it like I do Chat GPT or Grok 3. Yep. And then because it's tapped into the actual Internet of Value, it can go execute these intents. Is that what you're describing here?
Yeah, so AI can actually play a role on both sides. So there's the side of sourcing the user intent. So, with Omni, for example, there's different ways to just declare your intent today. It's all pretty simple. You basically just like click a button and some complex action happens on your behalf. But with AI, you could just talk to it and you could just say, hey, go get me $100 of this coin, swap this coin to this coin. So that's kind of on the like sourcing user intent side. And then on the other like backend side of things, right now, there's a lot of these like market makers that are facilitating these outcomes for users, but it will be AIs. Like I've seen a number of teams experimenting with this. And so, yeah, it'll actually operate, AI will be operating on like both sides of this marketplace in the future.
It's really remarkable when you think of that kind of integration. I mean, the
Yeah.
power of AI and blockchain together is going to absolutely
Yeah.
be
It's going to be wild for
disruptive.
sure.
Yeah, it's going to be like a 3, 5, maybe 7, 8 year period there where things just absolutely transform. I can't wait to see what it looks like on the other side.
Yeah.
But you said something really important in the thread, and it may have been that thread, that why crypto is so clunky today is because we don't have those bed of protocols.
Mhm.
For those that aren't aware, the Internet of Information we're using today is a combination of multiple protocols that are wound together into this smooth, ubiquitous experience, right?
Mhm.
Everybody knows we got a protocol for email, SMTP, and then HTTP or HTTP for
Mhm.
websites, and so on and so on. And all of these things combine for that user experience we have now. And you talked really, really clearly about missing that bed protocol layer, which is like,
Mhm.
and I asked you to correct me on the
Yeah.
diagram,
Yeah.
and on the protocol layer, you're
Uh,
like, that's where ILP, XRPL will go. And
mhm.
then on top of those, you'll see application stacks and things
Mhm.
like that build out. This, how far away do you think we are for XRP Ledger to really, I mean, I believe it is that bed protocol now,
Mhm.
but what will it take for the world to understand that it is? Will it be
Mhm.
US adoption of that protocol? What do we need, Austin?
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a great question. And yeah, to people who didn't see this post, basically, when you load your email or you load a website, you are using the like multiple protocols. But the thing is, you don't need to think about any of those protocols. You don't think about DNS when you're loading a website, and that's great that you're not forced to. And that's what we really need in crypto as well. We're not there today. Everybody is thinking kind of about like what chain they're talking to, like, how much they're paying in gas to make a transaction go through. They're looking at the blocks and stuff. They're very in the weeds today. And so the way that I think about it, L1 blockchains are really going to be the foundation of the Internet of Value. It's going to be where the like data is actually stored. On top of that, though, we're going to create other networks and protocols that make it easier for people to engage with them. Just like, there's TCP/IP, which is how packets move around the internet. But on top of that, we have DNS, which just makes it easier to go like move those packets around. People don't need to think about those individual packets every time they load a website. And so on top of that, we're going to have networks like, ILP, OMNI that make it easier for people to interact with these things. ILP in many ways for people who like aren't super familiar with that, or OMNI, a good way to think about it is ILP or Interledger Protocol was this interoperability protocol that really was designed for the Internet of Value. The whole idea here was just that like money should flow as seamlessly as packets or as information do in the internet today. And so really what it was a really high performance payment network that worked across these different ledgers. And so I built this out from like 2018 to 2020, and then I integrated it into Ripple's payment suite. Omni, in many ways, is very comparable to Interledger, except Interledger specializes in payments, and Omni specializes in just like generalized actions, so like finance at large. And so it's going to be these networks like ILP and Omni on top of these base L1 networks that just make it much easier for people to interact and like get the outcome that they want done.
And do you think that we're at a place now? I mean, we're very close to stablecoin legislation. Some say we could have it as
Mhm.
soon as April next month. And we've heard the president say in the first White House crypto summit that he wants the bills for crypto, tax, market infrastructure on his
Yeah.
desk to sign by August. This
Yeah.
is moving at a breakneck pace for
Yeah. Yeah.
Congress, and I love it. And it tells me the importance of it. But there's going to be some winners in that, and there's going to be some
Mm,
losers, I'm sure, in that. But what is required? You know,
mm,
Austin, as an entrepreneur myself, I've had to look, and what's served me best for the things that I found as an entrepreneur I developed an app years ago. I invented a product for the beach. And when I went to the market to look at these things, before I did anything,
Mhm.
I'd like to superimpose the way markets work over top of a new market, right?
Mhm.
And when I look at like this industry where we're at today, and as you pointed out, what's missing from the Internet of Value is these bed protocols to build all these stacks on to really create that Internet of Value experience. I start thinking, well, okay, well, what's missing here? Then I look back to, okay, well, what set the Internet of Information loose? It was the
Mhm.
Telecommunications Act of 1996, right?
Mhm.
That's where the dot-com boom, bang, we're off to the races.
Yeah.
Stablecoin legislation, the market infrastructure bill, tax structure, and the possibility of U.S. domiciled assets not having capital gains. Let me talk about that. That sound, when I heard that, Austin, not
Mhm.
only did I feel like, okay, well, the president is a nationalist. He's very much about America being first. He wants to make us a leader. This makes sense. But I also thought, and I floated this by Greg Kidd as well, if you want your protocol, US domicile protocol, to be the #1 protocol, I wouldn't charge anything. I'd make sure that there's no cap gains on that network. For one, looking at the XRP ledger, it's why I've always believed it wasn't a security. And for over 2 years of the first part of the case, I had to stomach the idea of if it was one. And
Yeah.
we did tons of episodes about it probably being one. And I hated it because I've
Yeah.
always seen it as a currency, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
Uh,
to me, it's like if you're going to charge zero capital gains, that's the greatest incentive for the world to own a part of your network and to move their value on your network. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely agree. If the US government wanted to really pull, so what it's done over the past like 6 years is it's pushed crypto offshore. People like do not issue tokens in the US because the US has failed to provide a regulatory framework that makes it clear that it is like this is how you do it in a compliant way. Other countries have done this though, and so it's pushed a lot of American entrepreneurs offshore, and these networks are being created offshore. If they wanted one of the, like I can tell you as an entrepreneur and like founder in this space, one of the most clear ways to pull crypto networks back into the US is if they were to establish something like a zero capital gains tax if it was domiciled in the US. For sure, that like a lot of different networks would move to the US. But kind of like to the first part of what you were communicating there, this actually did happen with the internet as well. The government was pretty hostile towards things as simple as encryption. So when you load a website, HTTPS, that S means secure, and the cryptography that was used for that was actually like held like I think it was seen as like an armament, like it was at the same level of classification as like nuclear weapons for a while. And so absurd, right?
Yeah.
But that actually was the case, that the government was hostile to the development of the technologies that power the internet today. Obviously, we see that that same thing happened in crypto for a number of years preceding this. Now we're at a point where we have an administration that not only is not hostile to it, they're actively, and the Republicans currently control the Senate and the House and the presidency. And so, like you were saying, a lot is getting done pretty quickly here. And so I do think we're at a similar point to when the government pivoted its stance on like being hostile towards cryptography, and the internet just like blew up past that point. Like so many fascinating things were built. I think we're at a similar point in the evolution of the crypto industry. And all this kind of like you were saying before we started recording, like I don't tend to like hype in my posts because honestly, I don't think you need to hype and like create like a bunch of like unnecessary excitement, because I've been building in crypto for 8 years now, and never before, even though markets are down right now, like zoom out from that, structurally, there has never been more opportunity, and never have I seen more upside growth in the coming like months and years here compared to where we're at right now.
I completely agree. And I agree with you too. Like there's so much real stuff happening. You don't
Yeah.
have to hype anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like let's talk about this idea. Look, the CEO of Stripe just said, testifying in front of a Senate committee, you
Mhm.
know, he just said stable coin, and I'm paraphrasing for him. Uh,
Mhm.
he just basically said that stable coins are the great new use case that can replace the petrodollar mechanism, which elevates the US dollar as the world reserve currency, for goodness sake. Now, I don't know if you know, Austin, but this has been a great conversation with me or digital asset investor over the last several years. and we've gotten picked on, laughed at, or whatever. That's fine. I don't care. It hasn't changed the point. In 2019, I met Christian Carlo at a Bitcoin conference, and we both really kind of became friends in an instant when we saw this dollar banner hanging from the ceiling that was half burned away.
Mhm.
And, he turned around and basically said very colorfully, they need to take that down,
Mhm.
and I was like, I couldn't agree more. And where we are today is in a place where Bitcoin, and I don't say this as a maximalist position, Bitcoin is less money and more an investment product today, right?
Mhm.
And I even offer with what we're seeing, and you could speak to this or not, but I even offer the idea that it could radically be used as a negotiating tool. China's the second largest holder of Bitcoin, Austin.
Mm.
And why would this American president agree to hold Bitcoin and inflate that value, knowing what it's going to do for China? But at the same time, he's imposing tariffs. And I also realize that this president is a deal maker. So if he's upsetting China by imposing tariffs to force the manufacturing back to the US, maybe they write him a little Bitcoin check. I think
Mhm.
that's how he put it. So maybe he agrees to put it in a strategic reserve to create a demand for it that wasn't there
Mhm.
yesterday. And that is part of the negotiating and the parting gift, so we don't go into physical war with China about bringing our manufacturing back up. I have no
Yeah, yeah.
idea. I'm just saying, there's a lot at play here today, and you don't have to subscribe to any of that, and or what have you. I'm just saying there's a lot at play here today. And I think about zero cap gains, for instance, getting that US innovation back home. It's a brilliant move. Not to
Mhm.
mention the fact, if you're going to tell people we got a new system and you should move all the value of the world on it, I'm pretty sure if you tell me I got to pay capital gains at the end of the year, I don't want to use it.
Mhm.
I'm also pretty sure it flies in the face of what this technology can do. We're talking about blockchain. Transaction went instantly. So why
Mhm.
don't we switch to a model like a fair use tax model where the government can get theirs at the point of sale, the merchant gets theirs at the point of sale, and the actual customer gets the product, good, or service at the point of sale. And you go to a
Mhm.
fair use tax, we can eliminate having to save all your documents all year, all this
Yeah.
crazy stuff.
Huge
I
pain.
just feel
Yeah.
like we're not thinking outside enough, like the way you've talked about intents. We're
Mhm.
not seeing the true application of what it means for the world to be instant.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, like what you were talking about there with the picture of the US dollar burning, I think that I think most Bitcoin maximalists at this point wouldn't even try to claim that Bitcoin is money. I think most people uh like see it as a like it a store of value or something like that. I think for a long time the like dream of crypto was providing people with like censorship resistant and neutral money. That's great. That's really powerful, but I don't think we have anything that is like really hitting those traits. And so I think the US dollar and like stable coins is really powerful. We're seeing people in Argentina today, their inflation is extremely high. And we're seeing local citizens flee the kind of financial irresponsibility of their government into US denominated stable coins. And so that, there are like hundreds of millions, like billions of people throughout the world who happen to live in territories where their governments are just bad at managing their finances. And they effectively have their wealth stolen from them downstream of that. And so stablecoins as a mechanism are a way to at least give people the stability of the US dollar and export the US dollar further throughout the rest of the world. So on the like global reserve currency front, yeah, I do think that stablecoins at this point in time are one of the most powerful mechanisms that we can do to extend the reserve currency status of the US dollar. And I think that that is something that I'm very, very happy to see the current administration embracing because I think it's very clearly true. Like people are doing it when there's not regulation around stablecoins. And so, once we get regulation around stablecoins, I think that'll make the world like far more open-minded to using stablecoins at large. And I think there will be a compounding effect where just stablecoin adoption rises pretty significantly over the next couple of years here.
Absolutely. And looking at the Genius Act that just came out of the committee and is going to the Senate for a floor vote, I was wondering about rights of privacy, and I don't think we touched on this yet. I think we talked
Yeah,
off
yeah.
camera about this. So
Mhm.
I'm glad you brought us to this place. It's a conversation I've had with Christian Carlo, that privacy must be a part of this thing. Well,
Yeah.
funny enough, in the Genius Act, it says that anyone who's a stablecoin issuer, a la Ripple Circle, Real USD, USDC, if you're an issuer of a stablecoin under the Bank Secrecy Act and the Genius Act, you would be falling under the bank regulatory framework. And there's where your privacy exists there inside of that framework for the customers that would use said stable coins, right? So I totally get it. And I think it makes sense. They don't have to rewrite the entire world for bringing this product, which is a digital dollar, into the fray. I think one of the things that's interesting about this is that this new use case can also act as a bulkhead to soak up our inflated dollars, right? You know,
Yeah,
by
no,
allowing
100%.
everyone else to get access to this instrument, right?
Yeah, for sure. The utilization of stablecoins throughout the world will increase the demand for the US dollar and dampen the effects of inflation.
Yeah.
On the privacy front, I totally agree with you. One thing historically that has happened is people have built privacy preserving protocols so that like it can be unclear like who owns like what coins and stuff. And you know the government has taken a hostile stance to this. Recently, this was just lifted. I don't know if you've heard of Tornado Cash, but they've kind of reversed their stance on this. I think this was a mistake to go to market, effectively marketing to end users. I don't really think that, like, it's not surprising to me that the government had like a pretty sharp eye on this stuff. I think the way that privacy protocols should go to market is targeting businesses and institutions, because every business and institution has these privacy requirements. And so if you frame it within that context, it's like, oh, well, very obviously, in order to do business, we need to preserve the information of like what our customers are doing with their money. And it's far more reasonable to think about that if you are a policymaker, whereas like, oh, people are hiding their money, maybe they're evading taxes. So I actually think that's the best way to go rolling out privacy across these systems. But downstream, that gives like individual end users privacy if they want to like maintain that privacy of their own activities. And so I'm very excited about this. I think, you know, we're seeing a lot of innovations on the like zero knowledge proof front right now. And so I do think we're going to see some big like step changes on the privacy front in the next couple of years here.
Now, we have you coming to XRP Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Austin, I'm super excited about
Yeah,
this.
it'll be fun.
Oh, it's going to be a blast. And
Yeah.
listen, and for anybody who hasn't got their ticket yet, just understand you're making an investment into yourself. This is the third year in a row. You're going to learn things at this conference that you're not going to learn if you're not there. I can tell you that because it's happened the last 2 years, and it isn't me doing it. It's what I'm learning too. I'm there too. So it's like I encourage everybody to get your ticket and come find out all this information. Turn these social media connections into real people. We're social creatures. Build, network. Look, we're giving away $25,000 to the best pitch from any dev or builder that goes to Easy A and signs up so they can pitch on the 2 days, and then we're going to announce the winner on the last day at the end of the day who won $25,000, because this is what we're about. We want to bridge not only the developer builder crowd but the retail crowd, because there's so much synergy there, and for so long there's been so many to try to divide that, and it's just the wrong way to go. The right way to go is to bring everybody together, because hey, you might find the kind of seed investment in that. Over that 2 days, you may find the people that connect with your idea. You never know what you can find there. But what can we look forward to with OMNI on stage this year at XRP
Yeah.
Las Vegas?
Yeah, so I won't spoil like what I plan to cover live there. But what I will like dive into here is we're making some pretty serious advancements on SolverNet. So SolverNet is this intent network powered by OMNI. OMNI effectively, like throughout my career, I've worked across all these different blockchains. You know, starting in 2017, I was programming on XRP Ledger, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. OMNI like effectively allows these different networks to talk to each other. SolverNet, though, is this network that allows intents to be processed across these different networks. So we're having our first mainnet release of this pretty soon. And it's $1 billion protocol. Like this team, effectively the go-to-market strategy here was not like, let's get a bunch of tiny little teams to see if they'll adopt this intent framework that we're building. It was more like, hey, let's go to the biggest protocols in the industry and just really, you know, see if we can make this happen. If they are not interested in this, then cool, we'll iterate on product. But you know, I'm pretty excited here because the first mainnet version of SolverNet in our like intent product will be rolled out here in the next, I believe it's the next few weeks. I can confirm though that at XRP Las Vegas, I will be talking about intents at large and like how this technology is going to overhaul these different things. Because think about it, like if the internet still if we didn't have DNS or HTTPS and we were still just moving around packets and stuff, it wouldn't be anywhere. We're like talking and we don't even need to think about what protocols are being used behind the scenes, but we're like streaming to each other in real time. That's pretty crazy when you actually think about it. Crypto is so far from that today, but like intents really are the key unlock there. And that's like the core thing that we're focused on at Omni. So I'm not going to spoil exactly what I'll cover, but it will be focused on that. And I'm very excited for it.
And I am too, because I mean, just the breakdown of intents and understanding that when I was reading your post about it, I'm like, it sounds like when I go to Google and type in,
Yeah,
and I'm just
exactly.
looking for something randomly, but basically you're speaking it. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable. It is exactly what's missing from our experience with moving value, tokenized value. So, Austin, we couldn't be more excited to have you join us at XRP Las Vegas. And I'm super excited you found the time to sit down with us today on the channel. I hope you will come back and see us. This is a wonderful time for all of us to watch this innovation be adopted. So thank you, Austin, for being here.
Yeah, it's a super exciting point in the industry right now. I think there's been a lot of us that have kind of like pushed through the past few years, like there have been like down points, but now we're at a point where a lot of technology is maturing pretty substantially. And that's happening at the same time that for the first time ever, really, we're getting regulatory clarity in the United States. And so I do think those two things happening in parallel will make for probably at least, the next few years here, probably the craziest years that I've ever been in crypto. And I've been here for 8 years. So yeah, thank you very much for having me on. Would love to come back sometime and looking forward to XRP Las Vegas.
We are too. And one quick question I meant to ask it a second
Yeah,
ago.
hit me.
Ripple case, does it end through a some kind of drop dismissal negotiation, or does it end by going to Supreme Court? What are your thoughts very quickly?
I would not be surprised if it just got dropped personally. We've seen the SEC do this against Uniswap, Coinbase, multiple other companies. They just kind of said, my bad, sorry, like, don't worry about that. And they just put it to the side. I'm actually surprised it hasn't happened yet with Ripple, but I imagine that's going to happen pretty soon here because it's clearly ridiculous, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Austin King from Omni. That's it. If we could just get this message to Paul Atkins, that's all we need. I think we got it. All right.
Soon, yeah.
Thank you so much. We'll catch all of you on the next.